Well, Gary, not that long ago, it was a big letdown for the majority of voters, actually just 2 months ago. But now the chatter is heating up again. A little bit of help from several strong supporters. The movement to legalize medical marijuana in Florida back on the horizon. Florida state law required a supermajority to approve the new law back in November, and they fell just shy of that 68% necessary to approve medical cannabis. Now, since then, the Department of Justice announced looser laws on marijuana nationwide. They also said the DEA will no longer arrest or prosecute nonviolent citizens caught with marijuana in their possession. Now, a new proposal is on the floor in Tallahassee, and state law could be up for a change as well. Organizers made a few changes to remove many of those controversial issues that we kept hearing about from the bill. Many critics were concerned about exposing children to cannabis without their parents' approval, new dispensaries near schools, issues like this. Now, under this new proposal, supporters of the bill say those would no longer be concerns. People United for Medical Marijuana chairman and attorney John Morgan said this: "We have tweaked or clarified positions that were constantly brought up by our opposition to help us talk more freely about the real issue, which is the legalization of medical marijuana." Now, his group is actually pushing state lawmakers to vote on this themselves instead of relying on another vote in the ballots. But if that doesn't happen, Morgan does expect to see this revised proposal on the ballots again in 2016. Another big story from days of Florida past, Trayvon Martin's killer back in trouble with the law. 2 years ago, George Zimmerman was acquitted on a second-degree murder charge. This weekend, Zimmerman arrested again, this time up in Sanford, Florida, charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Judge John Galuzzo ordered Zimmerman to keep his distance from the alleged victim, turn over any firearms in his possession, before setting Zimmerman's bond at $5,000. Now, Zimmerman posted bail on Saturday, the very next day, and is scheduled to appear back in court February 17. Now, if convicted, he could face up to 5 years behind bars. And of course, this isn't the first time police have responded to incidents regarding Zimmerman since that high-profile trial. Several run-ins with the law. Police charged Zimmerman with aggravated assault, battery, and criminal mischief after his girlfriend at the time accused him of pointing a gun at her face, shoving her out of the house, and smashing several items inside. Prosecutors had to drop those charges after she refused to cooperate later on in the investigation. A separate case, Zimmerman's wife, now estranged, filed divorce papers. She called the police months ago accusing him of smashing her iPad during an argument just after she filed for divorce, but without any evidence, they were not able to press any charges. And hard to believe it's already been 5 years since a magnitude 7 earthquake rocked Haiti, killing more than 230,000 people, leaving millions homeless. Among the victims, the deceased 6 members of a college humanitarian group from Lynn University in Boca Raton. The college group, about a dozen volunteers, 15 of them, were working with a group, Food for the Poor. One of the students, Brittany Gangle, just texted her parents about her dream to build an orphanage in Haiti when the quake hit. The building collapsed and she was killed inside with 5 other people in her group. Since then, her family has done everything in its power to make her dream come true. Now, the orphanage is up and running and it honors her legacy. It's called Be Like Brit, and it's home to more than 60 children and employs dozens of people there in Haiti. The whole project is funded by volunteers who go over to help. This past week, the Gangle family and the relatives of other members of that school group visit the place where their loved ones died to see that orphanage. In other news off the Florida coast, Cuba releases 53 more political prisoners. It's a continuation of their renewed relationship with the U.S. Now, this new release marks the last of the American political prisoners held in Cuban jail cells. But still, U.S. officials tell Reuters reporters they will continue to push Cuba to release prisoners from other countries. Many of the names of those prisoners still unknown, with several secrets still surrounding and clouding the entire U.S.-Cuba relationship. In related news, though, here in South Florida, dozens of protesters marched in the streets of Doral on Sunday, demanding that the U.S. shut down Guantanamo Bay once and for all. Now, the timing of the protest lined up with the 13-year anniversary since those prisoners and terrorists were taken first into custody in the Cuban facility. And down in the Florida Keys, several wounded U.S. military veterans spent their weekend swimming with dolphins. You've probably heard of the Wounded Warrior Project, a movement to raise awareness, support, and relief funds for so many of the severely injured American soldiers back from Iraq and Afghanistan. Now, many of these veterans lost limbs or suffered other devastating injuries. Friday, dozens of veterans got to interact with the dolphins in the water, ride the waves, give them handshakes, and it was a lot of fun.
We all just wanted to touch it, play with it. We just wanted its attention as much as it wanted ours, either one of them. And it was kind of funny because we all just turned into big goobers playing with the dolphin in the water, really.
And that was Army Staff Sergeant Neil Bokel. He was wounded 5 years ago in Iraq. He says events like these help to brighten their day and give them a fun way to experience unique adventures. One of those, around 60 of the wounded warriors capped off their weekend with a long bike ride over the 7-mile bridge, as you can see here, the longest stretch of the Keys Overseas Highway. Some of those veterans riding a bike for their very first time since sustaining their injuries.